Well, what is up everybody? Welcome back to another episode of RJ's Reviews, and today we're going to be talking about this thing, which is the Roland TR6S, which is a drum machine and was, I think, like a revision of one of the first IRA range models. And I haven't had a drum machine before, and yeah, I kind of needed one, so I was like, this is good. It's got all the 808 sounds and stuff in it, and yeah. The reason I really needed this is because I actually write game soundtracks, as well as write the code for some of the games. In fact, if you want to go play it, there's links in the description. But yeah, so I've been planning on, I decided to go and do a bit of a review of this thing because, you know, pretty cool little piece of kit, and yeah, let's get right into it. Alright, so yes, one thing I forgot to point out in the intro was that, yes, I'm filming this kind of the same day I got it, which, if you don't know, is still kind of in the trip vlog. In fact, this video is supposed to be released like after the trip vlog because, you know, it's kind of as an addendum. So yeah, I apologize for the tight camera angles where I'm staying at. This is probably the only desk space I get, and I mean, yeah, it's already chaotic enough. So I've already undone the little seal, so let's go into all that. And I've got this little piece of card that you know, tells you that's an IRA range drum machine Roland product. And once you get past the box, it's like really small compared to what the box has you believe. I mean, like, compare this with the actual box itself. It's kind of enlarged a bit on the box, and yeah, but otherwise, yeah. Good thing to note is that the price I got this at was like $400, which it's not bad compared to its bigger brother, the TR8S, which is like $800, and it's like twice the size of this. And yeah, let me just get in on that. And yeah, also in the box. Now, also in the box, you do get your hands on like this little thing that goes under it with a manual and all the stuff you need for registration and all that. I'm not going to kind of show it because I think there's some stuff that kind of is like kind of important to my specific unit. But yeah, it also comes with the 4 batteries, because this thing, if you look at the underbelly, is battery operated. Now, I normally wouldn't use something battery operated, but for the purposes of this review, because it kind of looks cool, might as well just use the batteries. So yeah, they give you the 4 in box. They don't give you a USB cable, which is also an option for powering it. And yeah, got a little. And let's just get this out of the bag. And yeah. Alright, so looking at the unit itself, yeah, it's not too big. In fact, let me get my Nintendo Switch and kind of compare it to that. Yeah, I mean, it's like roughly the size of a Nintendo Switch, although it's way thicker. Because it's a pretty cool little thing. It's got full stereo 1/4 inch out. It's got a full-on MIDI out. There's a full-sized SD card. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring a smaller SD card with me. That would be perfect for this. There's a USB cable. They don't throw one in box. And there's the on-off switch. It's a pretty generic one, but I'll live with it. And underneath, like I said, there is a battery thing. So let's put some batteries in that right now. Alright, so let's power this little thing up, and yeah, so there's our power switch, and there we go. Got a nice little, now we've got a nice little green LCD display, kind of matches well with all the RGB LEDs that make up all of these sliders, potentiometers, and all that. So yeah, there's green lining these. Bit of further first impressions. These potentiometer caps are coated entirely in rubber, so I guess make of that what you will. personally, it's not really the greatest thing to really have in something like this. So yeah, so let's try out this first beat that they have pre-programmed in. So yeah, now I think this is using like an 808 thing. As you can see, these bottom colors are all 808 colors, and yeah, it's not too bad. So yeah, we've got our 16 little things here. So if we wanted to do this TR rec thing, which is one of the things that I've gotten into with this, yeah. Now this is kind of one of those weird ones, because there's a lot of as you can see, there's a lot of menu diving that has to be done, and I kind of have to figure it out myself. So yeah, all right, so I've managed to figure out how to get it to a spot that's empty. So if you play it, there's nothing here. So let's start adding a bit of basic beats here with that, and yeah, it's got TR rec, which is pretty cool. If you want, there's a mixer, which isn't bad. Again, these are rubber coated, so it's not too bad. It's not a quick fader like this mixer, but it's actually pretty good. So yeah. So yeah, let's mess with this. So yeah, there we go. So yeah, even though there's a lot of menu diving involved, it's still a pretty cool piece of kit. So yeah, I mean, I was able to create a pretty okay-ish beat, I guess. So yeah, I kind of like how this TRX stuff is. There is a way you can do it where you can just do it live and just ad-lib it in, I guess. So yeah. So yeah, it's pretty cool with what you can do with this thing. So I'm pretty happy with how it works, and yeah. And so let's just stop that for a moment, and yeah. More importantly, you can go into a variation of it, so you can have a variant which is kind of, I guess, similar to it. You know, you could program in your own, you could program in a completely different beat, but there's a lot of, the big issue that I'm having is that there's a lot of menu diving, and there's a lot of knowing which buttons to push at what menus, because you know, there's like, you know, there's pattern select, you know, simple as that, but you know, there's always that, and then but then you have to go through, like, you have to press something else to do something like that. So yeah, pattern setting, kind of got a little confused with that, because you know, there's all of the things. I don't like how there's like a lot of menu diving on stuff like tempo and stuff like that. I think that's like one of those really basic features that should be pretty easy to get to, but otherwise, yeah. So it's fairly easy to work with, but there's a lot you do need to actually know to really work with it. So yeah. But I do like the whole mixer thing, because even though this doesn't really have individual outs per se, it does work pretty well with a lot of things. So yeah, anyways, you can also do some things like messing with tuning on certain instruments. So there we go, I just added the bass drum, which is probably not the most easiest thing to really work with. Let's do it with something more recognizable, like the hand clap. Kind of sounds like a filter. And yeah, that's not bad. And there we go. Got decay, which I guess doesn't really, which I guess kind of edits how long it is. But yeah, I'm gonna put it at like a modest 127, I guess. And there we go. There's control, which is only there for things like a lot of stuff, and it's pretty cool because you can do effects with it. And yeah, so there we go. Flat, and let's just mess with what all the others are. They're kind of a similar thing with the high pass and low pass filters. So yeah, the biggest disadvantage you get compared to the original 8S is the fact that you do not have 11 channels, and rather you get like 6. This is a fairly standard 808 kit that's being used right now in this beat. So yeah, so onto the driver software that allows you to do quite a lot with this over USB, because unlike its 11 channel brother, or double priced brother, it doesn't have the individual outs, but you can easily get them through their little driver software. So I'm going to go install that now, and yeah. Alright, so here we are on the Mac again, and I've managed to get their TR editor program, which is kind of a chore in and of itself because of the stuff you have to go with. You have to go through Roland's cloud service, the Roland cloud stuff. So yeah, this is the editor program. What's funny is that it loads up kind of like a limited version of their website for whatever reason. But if we go down to this side, there's the drum machine right there, and there we go. So now it's just getting info from the actual machine itself, and yeah. Now I've got basically the same preset from the other one, and unfortunately the big problem with this TR editor stuff is that it does not really do very well with smaller screens like this, this one, which is because I'm doing this on a really kind of old MacBook Air, old by at least Apple standards, but yeah, but there's a lot of things you can do there. Roland themselves actually did a series of tutorials on how you can use this, and it kind of goes in depth. But yeah, but the most notable thing is that this is where you can go to change colors and stuff. So unfortunately it's not really that easy here because, again, where I am, I'm only using a 720p screen, so I can't really see anything after that. So it's not really the greatest software, but I mean, if you had a bigger screen, if you weren't using an old Mac like I am, or or anything like that, yeah. And as for Linux support, it probably doesn't have it, but we're gonna check that out next. But before we go and do that, let's just go and get all of let's just try and figure out how to set the colors of it with that, which is more of a thing you can do with the kit, I believe. Reset the kit, I guess. Unfortunately, it's very hard to see anything after this, but yeah, if we go into the kit editor, this is editing the 808 kit, so we're changing things. In fact, this is actually changing it to the 808s thing. And there we go. We can actually, and it actually is pretty cool because it gives a lot of details about the kit you already have in there, and all of the icons that show up on there, like what type it is. Well, it's because these are all drums. It's got the P, which I believe is percussion. S might be just means it's a sample. F means it's FM, and having nothing after the P means that it's all ACB style stuff, which is really cool because that lets you change the kind of instrument. So there you go, you can have a 909 here and all of that. Now, most of this stuff you can really get away with on the actual machine itself. You can do that by, I believe, going into Instrument, and yeah, you can just scroll through it. In fact, the software, Roland's software, actually scrolls through it with you. So if you're doing that, that's a pretty nice feature. And yeah, so go back to Master Effects, and there we go. So it's pretty nice with what it can do. And there's a bunch of others that I think are available with that. Like there's some synthesizer ones. Like I believe there are some that are like not even considered percussive. Like yeah, but basically every one of these will have like a P icon on it, and yeah, it's pretty cool what you can do with this. So let's get out of there, and yeah, so we can do stuff like, and this is kind of where we go and change it. Now if you had the 8S, which has 11 tracks, you see about 11 tabs here, but yeah, unfortunately the one thing I'm not a huge fan of is that they don't give you every color under the sun by using RGB, but I guess they just give you the names. So we can go for purple, we can go for white, which kind of represents itself pretty okayish on these RGB LEDs. You got green, got lime, so it's not a bad thing. So let's go back to red because it's 808, of course. So I mean, any color other than would kind of be a little bit of a crime there. But yeah, so you can go and you can change that. So yeah. So that's mostly it for that bit of software. And yeah, so let's go try other things out. Alright, so I've gotten into Ableton where I can actually mess with all of the individual outs of the drum machine, which, if you don't know, the full-sized 8S comes with the individual quarter-inch outputs, but this does not. So to make up for it, it does the individual outputs over USB. And I believe 1 through 6 are the individual drum tracks, and 7 and 8 are mostly just raw outputs, or it's something else. And so this way, if we run it, we can actually mix it, we can add in the effects, we can put it into the sends if we want to. And this way we could also disconnect the quarter-inch jacks, because now it's getting its signals sent to the audio interface, which I'm going to have to turn that in. So yeah, now it's being routed through my DAW, and yeah, and now I'm just getting the bass drum, and now I'm getting every drum. So if you're working in Ableton, channels 1 and 2 are like, this is probably something like normal out, and this is pre-effects out, and these are all the individual tracks. So if you want to go and mix it after the, if the machine's mixer is not enough, you can go and do that. Alright, so on to the next thing. Alright, so it doesn't really work, but it does show up on Linux. I've popped open Audacity here, but yeah, it shows up as it is, as the TR6S, and but when you go and do anything involving recording, it gives you the invalid sample rate, meaning that, well, it's likely encoded in something that requires Roland's drivers that allow for it to go through all 8 of its inputs. So it's not really supported on Linux, but it's not a big issue. But if you're into Linux like me, it could be a problem. Also says that you really can't use the multi-out without drivers, and yeah, the whole not having Linux thing it's mostly a minor nitpick, and if anything, Linux support in the audio industry isn't there at all. So, I mean, there's like maybe a couple DAWs that have official support for it, but in reality, I'm not really totally surprised that Roland or any synth manufacturer has put up any software for the Linux kernel or anything like that. So yeah, so I think, yeah, that's mostly the last thing I kind of wanted to test. And yeah, I'm going to go in with my closing thoughts and a bit of a demo. Alright, so another thing that I forgot to notice is I kind of glossed over was selecting the kits. So let's get the global effect off and let's select other kits. So basically I'm going through all their ACB kits, which we just had the 808, now this is the 909. This is their 707, which is a little bit flatter. The 909 is pretty known for being punchy. There's a 727, which is a Latin version of the 707. Kind of sounds a little garbage, but then there's the 606, which is kind of the same as the 808 almost. Then there's the 626, which is kind of like the 707, like the 727. Now this is kind of the stuff that they made more recently. Like this is one that uses the FM synth engine in this thing. There's Minimal, which was kind of showcased in the first ones, and there's Bubble Drinker, which has some pretty cool LED settings. And then there's FM, which kind of follows the color scheme of the 808 versions. I really dig these this design though. You know, there's Electrodust, which I believe has a few samples involved. And then there's, you know, there's a lot of them, and yeah, there's Lowdown. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool sounding. And this is a modded 808. It's using samples, I guess. There's 321, which is I guess something 808 related. So yeah. So I'm just gonna kind of quickly scroll through them, because I mean, these sound pretty cool. I do like the accents of the LEDs. And then there's a lo-fi hip-hop setting if you're into that kind of stuff. And then there's an FM variant of the 909 and another minimal variant. So yeah. So yeah, I quite like some of these presets. So this one you can probably tune. Now, this tune becomes a reverb if you're doing global. Now, you can also, and delay also, the decay knob also becomes delay. I'm going to turn that off here. But let's go to the open hi-hat where we can tune the pseudo key. So there we go. So now you can actually record the stuff from these knobs into the recording when you do TR rec and all that. But so I'm gonna go back to normal. So yeah, let's go back to normal, and this is another variant of the 909, I guess. And I presume a lot of these kits are just designed for the example pieces. Chip one go, that's the thing. So yeah. Now this is kind of a mixture of 808 and a few others sampled ones. There's 407, which I guess is a thing. 305, probably also a thing. And it's a mod, and this is a modded 808. This is a modded 909 kit with the bass drums of an 808. There's 3606. So, and this is just variants of the 808s, the 909s, the 707s. And all these are for you to put on the SD card. All these other ones. So yeah, that's pretty solid. So yeah, let's go back to the first kit. And yeah, I do like how these things feel. So yeah, all in all, I'm gonna say, for something that costs $400, despite all the menu diving you have to do to figure this thing out, but once you do, it's pretty cool. Alright, so what do I think of this thing? Well, it's actually pretty good. So yeah, for $400, this is the best you can get. This is the best $400 can buy you, I think. It's a pretty good little drum machine. It's got a nice build quality to it, even albeit a little plasticky. And yeah, the lighting is really nice. The full-sized MIDI and quarter-inch are a beautiful addition and really adds to the professionalism of this. Even though it does have a battery thing, which take that as you will. It's pretty cool. I personally am not a huge fan of the batteries. As you can imagine, with all these LEDs and weird synthesizer process things that it does in the backgrounds, like the ACB simulations and stuff, yeah, that probably takes up quite a lot of power to do it, and battery life on this thing is reportedly like 4.5 hours to like 5. So honestly, batteries are okay, I guess, but personally I'm just going to use USB the entire time, and maybe just have this kind of act as a MIDI out to all of the other stuff like the synthesizers that I use. But yeah, there's a lot for people to actually discover with this thing, for all y'all to discover, because it's like got, you know, more stuff. This is by no means an in-depth review, because there's some stuff that I didn't even cover, like shuffle, and a few of the things like instant recordings, and a few of the TR6S sounds, and yeah, and for $400, this is the best drum machine money can buy. The menu diving's a bit much, yeah, but unfortunately, with this size and the way it was designed, I don't think there would be any other way you could do it without it. The effects support is pretty good. The portability is pretty nice, even though you still do have to have either a set of normal headphones or a audio out, or even just a computer for that matter, because you can just use, if it's running Mac or Windows, not Linux, unfortunately, you can just plug it in and you've got audio coming out of this thing. I quite like it. So as for a rating, I'm thinking I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. It's got a beautiful library of sounds. It's great in every way except for the menu diving, which takes a while to get used to. Apparently Roland does include a full-on course on how to use this thing, which is way more in-depth than whatever shreds and inklings of knowledge you can get out of this video alone. So I'd recommend you go and you try out that course. I am just operating off of like learning as I go with this thing, but yeah. Alright, so without further ado, let's get on to some demos with this thing.